ever gotten a random airdrop on the road?
I've heard people do that. Like, I don't have an iPhone, but I've heard that, like, people accidentally leave their airdrop ability. Like they leave that switch on, and they'll receive random images from people. Like
I have no idea what the fuck you guys are talking about.
iPhone or Apple products in general have this feature called AirDrop.
Okay.
Which is useful for if you want to send an image instantly to your computer, you AirDrop it, and it's just basically all Apple devices can freely transfer information.
Okay.
Even if you don't have like their contact info, right?
Yeah,
It's like whatever's in the area.
Yeah, so what people do is, like, let's say you say, hey, I like that picture that you took. Can you send it to me on AirDrop? Like, okay, you have to activate it first. So you go to your settings and you turn on AirDrop, and then I send you the thing. And that's it. You put your phone in your pocket and forget about it. So what some people do is they bet on the fact that you never turned AirDrop off. So what they do is they just cast whatever they want into other people's iPhones. And it just says, you received an AirDrop.
Yeah, it's like guerrilla memery.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and so some people do that at stoplights.
My brain is just going, like, straight to nasty stuff.
Yeah, I mean, some people do.
Like, how can this technology be used to perv out? Like,
that's the question every man asks.
And you know what? That's kind of a relevant
I got my
question.
PSP.
Dude, imagine receiving an image of the back of your head.
And can you like
on a bus?
Can you draw on it?
Oh, I mean, yeah,
so you could draw like a little.
Anything.
You could draw like a little splooge on the back of somebody's head and then send it to them.
Well, that's the thing. You can send just like an image, a video, stuff like that. It's just free information transferred through Apple devices if you have that little the thing
Apparoni.
Yeah. Well, it comes standard. It comes standard.
An ebook or something. Be like, what?
The art of war.
I would just be like airdropping my mixtape.
I mean,
that's probably a very common occurrence.
Yeah. Or like an Instagram hashtag or like an Instagram.
Oh yeah. Just go to Coachella.
It's like the next step of people putting stickers on stop signs.
Yeah.
Airdropping.
Yeah. It's next level airdropping, man.
All right.
We got to get on it.
Yeah. I don't have an Apple device, so I can't.
Yeah, neither do I.
All right, never mind.
Well,
Chris, you got Apple?
That's that.
You got iPhone?
Hey, I'm not doing that.
I still rely on like sticking sticky notes on the back of people's shirts with drawings of them. Like I can't transfer that stuff without their information.
But yeah.
So Blade Runner, huh?
Yeah.
Airdropping
right into that topic.
Yeah. Well, I tried to do a segue because I was talking about.
I know there was a lot of dead air. But
speaking of using, like I said, technology for pervy games.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, that's a shared theme that between what I imagine I would use AirDrop for, and for what replicants might.
Not even just might. Whenever you remember when whenever they're giving Harrison Ford the information about the 4 replicants that he's looking for, one of them he says a pleasure replicant.
Right, and
specifically said.
Yeah, and that's Daryl Hannah.
Yeah, I
think her name is Daryl Hannah, right?
I don't remember.
The blonde. She also plays.
The one that did cartwheels?
Mm-hmm.
Or no?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, Daryl Hannah.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty
the only female. Group,
yeah,
right?
and
there was the one, the stripper or whatever.
Oh well, then that might have been her.
Wait, I don't know if she was a stripper.
I think the stripper that Decker shoots in the back.
Yeah.
He chases her down the street and pops her in the back.
That's sad.
All of the deaths in that movie are sad, actually.
It's a poignant movie, but
oh yeah, I mean.
All right, so I mean we can get into it. Like this is Chris's recommendation.
It's my first time watching it.
And so Danny, what did you know about Blade Runner before you came into it?
This applies to me too, because I just watched it recently.
Man, I mean, I knew it was sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that the ending, like the scenes leading up to the ending, were supposed to be sad. I think I'd seen a screenshot of the,
Rutger Hauer,
like teardrops lost in the rain.
Yeah.
Like, I'd heard that phrase before, but it never meant anything because I didn't know anything past that.
Yeah.
I knew it was regarded as, some people call it the best sci-fi movie ever made, and I know that on its initial release it wasn't super successful,
right?
But it gained cult classic status.
Also, the version you watched isn't the initial release.
So actually, yeah, I was gonna ask about that. What was changed?
3 different versions, right? 3.
From what?
Or 4,
well,
maybe.
For sure I know there's the theatrical release.
The theatrical release is very different, actually. In fact, Harrison Ford has a voiceover the whole time.
What?
And that was done by the production company.
Right.
Yeah. And then, like, Ridley Scott and Harrison Ford hated that.
Right.
But that was the initial release. That's what they put out.
Huh.
There's the director's cut. And then there's, I think...
The final cut.
The final cut that came out in 1996.
Okay. So, were there scenes omitted from the movie, from the theatrical release that were included in the final cut?
One of the big differences with the theatrical release, and this is the version they show on television, is that, so like Chris said, there's narration from Harrison Ford to kind of simplify everything.
Sure.
And so basically there's ambiguity to the ending in the director's cut.
Okay.
Right? And it's very much open. And there is an additional actual scene for sure of Harrison Ford driving off with her, like by some like California looking cliff sides. And
so it doesn't
saying there's a happy ending.
Yeah, that's omitted.
Okay, so whereas in the final cut they just enter the elevator and the movie ends.
Yeah.
Also, the unicorn dream.
Yeah.
Is not in the theatrical release.
Yeah.
Okay. I figured and I feel like having watched it, I don't know how audiences would have kind of gotten into the whole, and maybe it's a bit extreme for me to call it this, but that sort of like rape scene.
Yeah.
I know
what you mean.
That was
very
not
unsettling.
I did not expect that.
Yeah. So I was talking to my mom about that just the other day because she had rewatched it. And she likes sci-fi movies a lot. And she likes weird sci-fi movies like I do. Her favorite movie's David Lynch's Dune.
Ooh.
So, and Dark City and this. And so I was like, did that bother you at all? You know, because it definitely doesn't fly under today's things. But like, that's a reoccurring thing with Harrison Ford and his type. Like Indiana Jones does stuff like that. Han Solo does something very similar in Empire Strikes Back, where he basically like kind of forces himself on Leia and he's like, come on, I know you want it broad, you know?
Yeah.
Which is like, yeah. So that is a troublesome scene, which sucks because it is like really visually stunning, and it is one of the most iconic, and you know, I could be wrong, but you know, I think it's her with the Venetian blinds over her. Yeah. So that's iconic. Like.
Yeah, definitely. One thing I wrote in my notes. I actually took notes on my phone this time. Let me find them. Okay, so the first thing I wrote is this movie is way more artsy than I anticipated.
Yeah.
I feel like considering how many people like it, I figured it'd be a lot more structured. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I assume that's where that theatrical release helps some of that. Maybe some people who wouldn't be down with the pacing and the way that this movie is really quiet.
Yes.
Really
it's
quiet.
It's very sparse in dialogue.
It's like a mood piece. What I was gonna say also really quick is Ridley Scott and Harrison Ford both prefer the final cut. Okay. Like that's the definitive version to them.
I'm glad. I really liked it. I mean, like.
So when I read that, I was like, okay, that one.
Yeah. Okay. I just wasn't anticipating that at all. It's a really quiet movie. The sounds are really strange. I love how the background music doesn't play forever. They're like little moments of weird, you know, people clanging on metal, or like a theremin playing, or something weird,
little
like
trills.
And that stuff like sprinkled throughout when there's a scene happening is really cool, and it doesn't take away from, you know, the dialogue, which is quiet, and it doesn't take away from the quiet moments because it doesn't sound like it's overbearing. Like, you know, when they're walking, you know, if they're walking down the street and it's raining, it still feels quiet even though you hear stuff.
Oh yeah.
I think it's one of the most mature movies of its genre, and I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
From what I was like, okay, 80s sci-fi.
So
Harrison Ford, I was like, this is gonna be kitschy.
So y'all thought it was just gonna be like a blast of color,
I thought,
action.
I thought it was going to be what people falsely remember 80s stuff being.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How
like an 80s Fifth Element.
Yeah, something like you know how people portray like vaporwave stuff. It's loud rock music with bright visuals, and you know some stuff had that. Yeah. And that's what I was expecting. I was expecting a lot of neon and gunshots.
Well,
and stuff like
what's cool about is you're talking the 80s aesthetic. Mm-hmm. A lot of the 80s aesthetic, sound and visually, is based in Blade Runner. Yeah. It is the originator of these things that became the ugly future.
Yeah. Dystopia.
And not just like dystopian in like plot structure, but in the visual motive of a future that's pessimistic, right? So in the 1950s and today, when you showed a science fiction movie, the future was pristine, right? It was
chrome. Sleek,
sterile,
a lot of white.
Yeah. Like Oblivion,
or Apple.
With Tom Cruise. Apple, yes. The inside of a fucking genius store.
And I think that's what's really cool about it. Like, it definitely feels really real whenever, like, and I wrote this down as well. This movie is overbearingly corporate. Like, you feel the corporate presence. Like, when Deckard goes up to JR's after he's been killed, his apartment, you see that blimp with the Chinese lady, and it's just flying
Japanese.
over, like Japanese. Sorry.
Come on.
Jeez. And it's flying slowly and like projecting lights on people.
Yeah.
And then there's the big Pan Am logo on the side of a building.
Oh yeah, Pan Am.
Yeah. Right. Well, and I wrote that down as well. I'm like, man, that's kind of crazy. How I wonder what that would look like if we predicted what the future looked like. Like, what that company would be. Imagine if we made a huge a Blade Runner today, which we have, and there was a huge Google sign. And then 20 years from now, people are like, ugh, Google. Oh.
But, what's so cool about the setting and everything is, like you said, that's a whole nother thing I've never even thought about until you brought it up, is, like, how the movie tries to predict, like, the logical conclusion or progress of capitalism, right? To where it is something that is suffocating. Yeah. And omnipresent, and because that's just how it's going to just continue until it's completely destroyed, almost the land below. Because what the blimp is advertising is basically a new world off off the surface of that Tokyo, LA area. And it's just when I think of the future, like that's what I thought, because when I was a kid, the first science fiction movies I watched were from the 80s and early 90s, and it was, Ridley Scott isn't directly responsible for it, but his movies are, right? So it's like the same aesthetic. Like I said, Ridley Scott made Alien, right? So you think of, the barge that they're on and how lived in and run down, that like the space miners, like how their thing is, and all these like cutting edge movies. I mean, the only two like great science fiction movies I think that really established like serious aesthetics were like the Blade Runner and Alien, Ridley Scott, and Stanley Kubrick. And the Stanley Kubrick models kind of survived, throughout the ages, and it took a downturn when the Ridley Scott ugly future took an upturn from the 80s to early 90s, but then has since come back with a vengeance and has been uncontested since the late 90s going on to today. So for 20 years, we've been pretty much stuck with
dystopian future.
The Apple future that Stanley Kubrick predicted in Space Odyssey 2000.
Yeah. And I mean, that being said, with the look, I think I don't know. This movie I wrote down in my notes has the best set design I've ever seen of any movie. Like, it is so clear in the message it wants to send in the sets. Like, in Tyrell's home, everything's gilded, everything's clean and sharp and bright. in his office with like the owl whenever Deckard does that interrogation.
Yeah.
That same look, you can tell that this guy is about big corporation, he's rich, and he's evil, maybe. Well, you know, like...
Yeah, like the opulence of that wealth, we can only imagine that he has. You know, it's like a palace of Versailles. Yeah. Imagine in the Blade Runner universe. And yeah, it's so like, cool.
And especially when you compare it to other stuff, like even Decker's apartment, it's packed to the brim with stuff that, you know, a human would have. Like, it feels like lived in, like you were saying about the Ridley Scott stuff. In JR's home, that abandoned place, it's just a bunch of robots, and there's so much happening in the background at all times that it's, I don't know, it feels like real environments, you know, the way how like in the alleyways as well, these huge machines are moving, like these freighters are moving, which is incredible that like there's some things that impress me about movie production that they've probably spent a shitload of money on, and that was probably one of them, making this huge metallic prop that just moved across the screen to give off the impression that they were in some, you know, industrial alley.
Oh yeah,
like that stuff is really, really cool to me, and I think they did an incredible job of making it look real, making it look lived in.
What do you think, Chris?
My take. I think one of my favorite sets, going off of what you were saying, is like at the very beginning when he's like at the it's like the Japanese like restaurant, just like hunched over some.
He's at the ramen shop,
and there's just so much like steam coming out of the ground.
Yeah. Oh, that is so cool.
It reminded me. Well, I'm sure this was a huge inspiration, but like Midgar from FF7.
Oh yeah,
it's just like so slummy and dingy. But,
absolutely.
Like has all these cool colors.
I mean, yeah, like the intro FMV from Final Fantasy VII, where you come in from an aerial view of Midgar, and you go in and you see like even the neon billboards and everything is like from Blade Runner. Like
it's like the exact same colors.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like the influence of this movie cannot be understated. But I think, you know, the strength is in a lot of parts of the movies. The only thing is like, even when I think, okay, so, you know, the soundtrack, you know, S+, you know, cinematography, S+. And the only thing I'm thinking like, I don't know, is like acting. But even then, there are performances that are so great that outweigh like, so like I don't really know what Daryl Hannah's doing sometimes with their thing. That like, you know, with the cartwheel part, like that's the only part that I guess doesn't age very well.
I think when and it happens twice in the movie, Harrison Ford gets his ass knocked 50 feet.
It's pretty
acting is really bad.
It's like, actually the only part where I was like, that doesn't hold up.
Yeah, like it was just really strange. But you know, I feel like that's made up for it. Like whenever him and what's the name of the last guy?
Rutger Hauer.
That guy was cool.
When them two are running around the house.
I was gonna say So you go from the silliness of like Daryl Hannah's confrontation with him minutes before, and then boom, you're in this terrifying action set piece of, you know, stalker and prey. And what's so cool and primal about the action and some of the violence in Blade Runner is the fact that the replicants don't really use weapons. You know, that they're just so strong. And but here's the thing. Okay, so you said, you know, Harrison Ford, you know, wha-bam, you know, PAL sign flies.
There were a couple times where it felt like he was going to look into the camera and just go, yipes! And he like grabbed his hand and go, uh-oh.
Oh, yeah.
You go, ruh-roh. Now, but is that because it's cartoony and not great directed action? Or, hey, is it because he's a replicant?
He doesn't know how to respond.
Yeah.
Good question. So, okay. Is that a question that people ask about that? Because I feel like he was human. Is that?
I think that's the point of the unicorn dream, right? There was something to be taken from that. I don't remember what it was.
Is that a lasting question that people ask about?
I mean, let's table the unicorn.
But yes, is he a replicant? Yes, that's a
for
big debate.
For the very end. Yeah. So definitely we're gonna come back to that.
Okay.
But like other performances in here, like that the guy who plays JR, he's so sympathetic.
Yeah.
And just so sad. Mm-hmm. And like I wonder why they chose to do like his makeup the way they did. Like it's so unnatural.
Yeah.
And he's like,
it seems a bit extreme.
Sickly, falling apart.
Yeah, well, like, because the thing is...
I loved his apartment complex, so...
Yeah. Because, like, the thing is that the way that, because they explain, he's just, like, he has that condition that makes him age.
Yeah.
Like, he's what, 26 years old, and he, like, looks like he's in his...
What a poor...
40s, 50s.
Poor guy.
But even then, the makeup looked a little heavy on. Like...
Yeah.
It looked, I guess the best way, like, you know how in Hunger Games, like, in the movie, in the Hunger Games, they have, like, really extreme... makeup on.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It seems almost theatrical makeup. You know what I mean? Where it's
I've seen screenshots of like Elizabeth Banks' character with the full like Marie Antoinette.
Yeah, sure. Like
face.
Yeah, maybe something like that. But like, you know how or let's say like in theater, makeup is sometimes a bit extreme. It's sometimes
you can see their faces.
Yeah. I think maybe that wasn't the point of it, but I don't know. You're right. The makeup looked a little bit.
Like it was pretty extreme. Other people that are pretty cool is James Edward Olmos.
Oh yeah, he's weird.
Yeah, he's cool. Sucks. Like I think he was completely underutilized by Hollywood. Yeah. He had a great moment in the early '90s with like Mexican American epics, like American Me, and what's the other one? Are they both about La M? He did two big sweeping crime epics. One about the Mexican mafia, but then like after the early 90s, after that like kind of Chicano wave died down, like we didn't get to see much from him except for like Battlestar Galactica, which I heard was really cool and has maybe some things from here. I haven't seen it. Have y'all guys seen Battlestar Galactica?
I saw like the last episode once.
God damn it.
Cool.
Great job.
My brother was watching. He's like, I want to watch this finale. I was like, if you must.
No, yeah. I mean, I think his character was pretty cool. Like, I like his interaction with Decker. Like,
yeah,
it was just he's just kind of like pulling the leash in, like being that guy. The little origami animals that was a neat touch.
I mean, like I said, like I think that's got to be the last thing. So let's go through some other stuff about the movie.
Oh, I have some stuff written down that I'm sure I haven't mentioned yet.
All right, hit us.
Wake up, time to die. That thing that what's his face yells at Decker whenever he is gonna kill him, and then he gets shot in the back of the head. One thing I like about Ridley Scott, I like science talk. Like,
oh yeah,
I like at least a little bit of effort in science talk. Whenever Tyrell gets confronted at his home and he's being asked why replicants don't live longer than 4 years and possible solutions, he's being grilled on it, but he has an answer for everything. Like, I think that stuff is really cool because it doesn't give away anything about Tyrell's character, because you can think, well, yeah, these are the reasons why he did it, but these could also be bullshit responses because he's a businessman and of course he doesn't want the replicants to live longer than 4 years.
Right.
So like,
oh yeah, so is it like
obsolete?
Yeah. Right. So is it like a Cadillac where, like, I forget what comedian, I think it was Chris Rock, who said that, like, are you telling me that we can put without computers we could put a rocket to the moon, and we can't make a bumper on a Cadillac that lasts more than 10 years? A 10-year cycle? Yeah. Come on.
Yeah, and like...
But then Toyota said, behold the Land Cruiser.
Those things get younger as time goes by.
Didn't Toyota have a thing with, like, Priuses just, like, zooming through, like... You wouldn't even touch the pedals and they just go fucking nuts?
No, yeah. Well, actually, that's the subject of a podcast called Revisionist History, which I would recommend, by Malcolm Gladwell. And that's kind of like, not like an urban legend, because that was reported on. And the story was taken in the wrong direction. And so basically people researched and they couldn't find any logical reason for the Toyotas and the pedal malfunction that people talked about.
It wound up being the floor mat, right?
No,
It wasn't? Nope. I thought it was that.
That these were all possible things that people floated, but like independent tests showed that it was none of that. And what it was like this psychological phenomenon, like a psychosomatic phenomenon, where people can't feel their foot is locked on the accelerator. Oh, okay. And like they said, independent researchers, Toyota,
not enough pushback or something?
looked, and so they were never sued. Like there was class action lawsuits because it was like a hysteria. Once people were like, oh, like multiple instances of it being, new Toyotas, but they did multiple, analysis of the cars and everything, and they just couldn't find it.
And even at that, Toyota did make some updates to their cars, like their new floor mats. Actually, they lock into the floor themselves, just as a sort of PR thing. Like, even if it wasn't their fault, still, any rumor going around that this is happening is not going to be good for your company. So throw a bone. Like from Toyota's end, it's throwing a bone.
Yeah. But it's really sad. But it's but a lot of the families, they won't accept that, and they ultimately they haven't been successful in their class action lawsuit because they can't find anything.
That's crazy. I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah,
it was a few years ago.
Yeah, it was several years ago, and it was a big hysteria. That's why it's not really an urban legend, because it was on CNN, it was on national news, NBC, but like what they didn't cover is what happened after the fact. With the cars and the investigations. But yeah, man, so the thing with the replicants, it's like, why, let's speculate a bit. What is the purpose of giving, I understand, okay, so you give Rachel some sort of agency in order to, like, just because that's a fun thing for, say, Tyrell. That's like his personal secretary, like maybe object of affection.
Sure.
Whatever. Like, that's a project. That doesn't count. But what was the purpose in giving, agency and a sense of self?
Yeah, making the replicants to a certain sense.
Yeah, autonomy. Yeah, sentience for the replicants who worked on, I think some of them were soldiers, sex objects, like off-planet workers. What was the purpose of that?
Yeah, what was the last guy's name? The blonde one?
I can't remember.
Either way, he was very like scholarly and poetic.
Right.
Yeah.
How did he get? Now,
like that,
yeah, and is that an artistic choice, or is that like something in the story?
Well, I imagine here, but I tell you what, there's a tension here, because at the same time, I don't know about you guys, I hate it when a property, a fantasy, horror, or genre feels like they have to explain every goddamn thing.
Yeah, that treats your fans like they're stupid,
and it also ruins the magic.
Midichlorians, anyone?
I was gonna say
that's probably
the worst offender.
Yeah.
Midichlorians, Yeah. At least with science fiction, it is fun to speculate, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, like what is the logical reason? Can you come up with one?
I don't know. I think in itself it's a message, and that being said, with what you're saying that you don't like, I also don't like it when things are too preachy. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And I think they wrote a line really well with that last replicant, because I can sort of chalk some of that up to him not being able to handle knowing that he's dying. And because like the last couple of things that he said prior to his last little monologue before passing away, or before shutting down, they were incoherent. They were ramblings is what they were. And
it's like a bad scholar.
Yeah. And I think some of that has to do with, I think maybe why give them sentience is a message, or a way for the directors to talk about maybe.
Well,
humans are right. They're inherently cruel in a certain way.
I think it's
not the theatrical purpose, because that it exists for a reason. Drama, conflict.
No, but what I mean, like within the story.
But right, what is the think, practical?
Yeah, I think it's one of two things. I think one, it's either just because Ridley Scott wanted to make the villains interesting, Because if they're not human-like,
I'm talking about.
But you're talking about in the story.
The narrative logic.
And then 2, the other thing would be he wanted to give them humanity so people didn't treat them badly, but they did anyway. Yeah. Maybe that was just an inherent flaw in it.
And you know, like there is a certain lasting part about that, because I mean they explain pretty early on in the movie they don't kill replicants, they retire replicants.
Yeah.
And that's a way to sort of soften and maybe humanize them in a way.
Dehumanize them.
Well,
right?
no, but it's a way to humanize them, because you don't want to talk about a cop who goes out and kills people. You'd rather hear that they're retiring.
He puts them out of commission.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it's sort of weird that in a way they're in an effort to dehumanize them. They're humanizing them.
Well, I don't think that's humanizing at all to say that they're retiring them.
Well, I think the terminology is
because that's taking away from the regular verbiage that they're killing them. So you kill.
You're technically not.
You kill a human.
You kill a thing that lives.
You are decommissioning.
Sure.
A model mark robot. So I think that no, quite the opposite. It's very explicitly to dehumanize the replicants.
Okay.
But I can't understand. Like I said, I don't understand why they would do that. Or are we to believe that it's some sort of glitch in the system?
I don't think so. I think Tyrell has a weird mind, maybe, and just wanted to have some fun with it.
Yeah.
Right, but they're not the only replicants, right? And if it was so commonplace, then this would occur a lot more. Mm-hmm. But we're to assume that there are millions, right, of replicants who aren't going rogue and killing people, and this is a very, very what's the word?
It's a huge liability.
Well, it's a very extreme circumstance, and it's unprecedented.
Yeah.
So we can assume, okay, so Deckard is a Blade Runner. Mm-hmm. And he's done this before, and his job is to hunt down and kill replicants, more or less, right? But like everything that's going on is unprecedented. Mm-hmm. The previous replicants who went crazy, it wasn't all the same error, if you will, that led to them going through an existential crisis.
Okay,
tracking down Tyrell and demanding their. If that was just an inherent thing for all of them, that given the right circumstances, all of them might come to that conclusion. That'd be pretty crazy, you know.
Yeah.
But you can assume that they have had dangerous malfunctions, right? To that would warrant the need for a Blade Runner.
And the thing is, I think that some of that is just based on the fact that Tyrell experimented maybe a little too far. He flew too close to the sun, right? These models, the four replicants that
you just dehumanized.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Good. Please. The four
skin jobs, or what they call them.
Oh, that's so gross.
The 4 replicants that Deckard was hunting down were the 6th edition. They were like the new one. They were the whatever. And I think that was Tyrell making a mistake from going too far with his experimentation. And ultimately it was his demise. And I think that's sort of a message that can go with that. But I think those might be an exception. Those might be smarter than the ones before it, who are probably the ones that are off the planet and working.
Tyrell, he's got his own existential issues, so he builds these proxy brains. Mm-hmm. They're supercomputers, basically, and they're asking questions of the universe, and they're going to get back to him. That's what it is. They're so smart, they question things that humanity doesn't even comprehend.
So it's a thing inventor.
Sure, yeah.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah,
I think
cool reading.
I think
into
that could be what it is. Like, seriously,
but
these things ask questions that even humans they ask questions about humanity that humans don't even ask.
Not all the time, yeah.
Wild.
But it's like
Tyrell's looking for some hidden truth that he can't find through his own,
machinations,
research or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe I'm assuming this for you guys, but to me, it's a foregone conclusion that. The one of the questions posited in this, right? And it was, I think, a lot more of an abstract question back in 1980s and before, when Philip K. Dick wrote Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Yeah. Was, say we get to a point of artificial intelligence, right? Do they deserve rights? Do they deserve limited rights? to me, like I was just listening to something talking about Fallout 4, which has a lot more simplified version of this dilemma.
Yeah. Fallout 3 literally has a quest called The Replicants, and you hunt down an android.
Yeah.
Like the reach is so crazy for that movie.
With the synths and the Institute and everything. Yeah. And to me, it's a foregone conclusion, right? Like, of course, like they deserve.
Yeah, at that point,
human rights. Yeah. Like, there's no question about it.
It was also a very thinly veiled attempt at making a civil rights kind of quest line.
Oh, with the railroad?
Yeah.
Well,
it's literally called the railroad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty ham-fisted.
It's a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. But man,
it's a good movie.
It's a damn good movie.
It's a damn good movie.
One of my biggest takeaways, honestly, is there's a specific song in there. I think it's called the Love Theme. Mm-hmm. It's like one of the best pieces of music I've ever heard.
Oh yeah, the soundtrack for this is, it's, you have the vision of the 80s being pioneered, right? You have certain themes being brought to the mainstream, and the actual synth soundtrack for it is a landmark in synth music itself.
Like when I think of that movie now, I think of that final, like one of the final shots of the android slumped over in the rain, like looking down. And that song, the Love Theme, I don't know if it plays right there.
Yeah.
But it's a song with like the saxophone.
Yeah.
I feel like if it doesn't play there, it should have. But that's what I think of. Like when I think of that movie, I'm like, oh man, what a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Man, and how cool do like the little virtual things with like the red scans.
Oh
and the
yeah. Like
computer GUI.
I like when he's like zooming in on that picture.
Yeah.
And he's like
a very long scene.
Yeah, that's weird. It's like scan left, stop.
3 right,
stop.
1 up,
stop. Ultimately, if I could, like, this is what I'll say. It's a lot more artsy than I was expecting.
Yeah.
A lot more quiet than I was expecting. A lot more serious than I was expecting. This movie's really serious.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Wow, what a good movie.
It's like it's a mood piece.
Yeah.
Well,
that's what it is to me. Like I love it. Like I feel like I could put that on the background and absorb it over time.
Well, I was
just
gonna say
yourself getting sadder.
Like, and I was just thinking, okay, so why? I've said this is like either my number 1 or number 2 favorite movie. In Seven Samurai and Blade Runner, like go back and forth depending on how I'm feeling that day. Mm-hmm. With Blade Runner, the reason why I love it is not because I'm obsessed with science fiction. It's not because I find, even though I find the question about AI and rights and stuff like an interesting question, I'm not crazy about it. That's what is so special about Blade Runner.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
Is the fantastic like mood, the marriage of sound and image.
Yep.
The marriage of sound and image to just this world that's created that stands alone so perfectly and so honestly and so uniquely. It's like how many places have how many movies can you turn on and it not be an anime, a video game or something, and see a world that's this realized and close to our own.
Yep.
Star Trek, Star Wars
isn't ripping off Blade Runner.
Right. Star Wars and Star Trek, that's so far, And Star Wars is just fantasy in space. That's not even real science fiction. Even though I love it, it's fantasy in space.
Yeah.
Like Blade Runner it's that and Space Odyssey. That's it. Like that exists as giants among sci-fi.
Yeah.
And that's why I love Blade Runner, is the way it makes me feel, the neo-noir aspect of it, the unreliable narrator, just like I love.
You think about how that movie would have been so, I don't know if you ever saw it, but like how different the mood would be if Harrison Ford was talking the whole time.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It would just be like, I'm not absorbing the mood anymore. I'm just listening to him talk.
It would feel like they were trying to make a noir movie. And the thing is, this movie doesn't feel like it's setting out to do something that's been done before. It definitely seems contained in itself. It definitely seems to be about the world that it's created. And I think if I had seen the movie with a narrator, I'd have think, oh, this is a sci-fi noir. And that would have been the thought in my head watching it.
Yeah, that would turn it into like a straightforward movie.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like more than the sum of its parts. This is like an art piece to me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's hard to even explain, but like I just think of like specific scenes. Like when I think of that movie, I think of that guy crouching in the rain and that song. It's not like one specific part. It's just like
that mood.
Yeah, it's like an idea. It's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't felt that way about a movie in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm really glad y'all liked it. So let's get into the last thing, the unicorn. Is Deckard a replicant? So y'all both are under the impression that he's not, right?
Okay, I don't remember. I read something about this, but to me, I don't think he is because he had that dream.
Mm-hmm.
But then I read something that was like, that dream had something to do with... I don't know.
Okay. So here's my reading of it, right? And what I also think the intent is. So I believe that the intent of the director with the editor is to make it ambiguous. Mm-hmm. Period.
Yeah.
So that's what I think the intent is. To leave it so... And then you can take what you will, and draw your own conclusions.
Yeah, that's definitely
now,
it.
The reason why I think that Deckard is a replicant is because the unicorn, right? Mm-hmm. That James Edward almost leaves.
Yeah. The
unicorn is basically what I believe he's trying to hint at Deckard is that his memories are supplanted.
Okay.
I know what you dream of.
It's exactly. And so there's that, and the fact that the unicorn itself is a mythical beast. Mm-hmm. A fantastic beast that only exists in one's imagination.
Yeah.
I believe that explicitly James Edward Olmos is trying to tell Deckard, I know what you dream. I know what you dream because your memories are implanted.
Yeah. Okay.
And the way that he knows where he is before he knows,
mm-hmm.
I think that James Edward Olmos is kind of a rogue employee, mm-hmm. right? And he has maybe access to files, track stuff that Deckard is not privy to.
Yeah, and truth be told, after watching it, usually I do look up stuff like that and see what people are saying.
Yeah.
But there was something about this, like, I know that's a big talking point, but after I saw this, I was like, I don't really know if I want to know what anyone else has to say about it. Like, I don't really care to find out, like, if there's, like, substantial evidence either way. It's just like,
well,
would you care?
I think the best part is to draw your own conclusions first and then talk it out.
What if let's say tomorrow an article came out that said Ridley Scott Tell-All explains everything
36 years later
explains everything in Blade Runner? Would you watch that? Would you want to know what he says rather than
it already happened?
Oh,
did he really?
Well, you know what he said?
Well, I was gonna say he probably wouldn't do that.
It's purposefully ambiguous.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm not telling you what's what because that's not
that's
not the fucking point.
Yeah.
You mooks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if I wanted to do that, he wouldn't have made a movie.
I'll ask him that next Comic-Con. I'm sure he's never been asked that before. I'm gonna ask Harrison.
Is Deckard a replicant?
Yeah,
you go up to the microphone and go, well, Wibby Scott.
Oh, Super Kai.
Oh, man.
No, I honestly thank you for recommending that movie. Like, I'm surprised I've gone this far without watching it. And
me too.
Like, man,
it's up.
But you know why I didn't watch it?
Movie.
Is because I thought it was going to be a kitschy 80s movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe
it's just how I think about the 80s.
Maybe I saw it young enough to where like I didn't have because I
have very like preconceived notions about the 80s. Well, and that's what it was to me.
Well, it's like I saw it when I was 18 on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Wow.
So and it was the theatrical release. And so I didn't even have the luxury of getting to like ponder the thing. And then I loved it. And then I bought the director's cut on DVD.
Okay.
And then I watched it from there over and over and over. But yes, I didn't have any expectations about it.
And I tried not to because the thing is, this movie's really highly regarded, and you know, like I listen to what y'all say, and when y'all recommend me a movie and say that it's good in a different kind of way, I try not to have any expectations, because I don't imagine both of y'all are super into, you know, bright neon shooter noir movies. Like,
it's like the bastardization of this would be like, what was that game that came out? It was like Far Cry Neon
Blood Dragon.
or Blood Blood Dragon.
Yeah. Right,
like,
and that's what I imagine.
Like that.
Yeah.
The Kung Fury.
Yeah.
Well, the thing for me is I don't really like action movies, and I thought that was going to be an action movie, and it wasn't. It was a drama.
There's not. Yeah, there's. It's a noir. It's a. You know, what's going on here? See. Yeah. Except, you know, not that. Thankfully, like we said, not a whole lot of. Tell me, Dame. Smack.
And that's when I decided. It's just like
spill the beans.
I think you're just like reading the Maltese Falcon transcript.
Oh man.
Yeah, this Dame came in. This replicant came in. Legs longer than cranes.
I keep 2 magnums in my
my coffee.
One is loaded. The other one keeps me loaded. All right.
Well, that's Blade Runner.
Okay.
It's fantastic.
So,
hey, Art.
¿Qué pasó?
Have you seen the new Titans trailer?
Holy God.
Of Titans?
Like
we're
Teen
watching,
Titans?
We're watching that after.
Teen Titans
No,
Go?
we're watching it now.
Oh, we're watching it now? Okay. Everybody who's listening, look up Titans trailer. Just look that up.
They'll be able to hear it through this.
Is this the live action or the cartoon?
Yeah, it's a live action.
This is live action.
They're making a live action.
Oh, I've only heard
This is DC.
fuck Batman thing.
Oh, man.
That's kind of the best part.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, because as far as the cartoon goes, I like that cartoon.
Yeah, me too.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
I've seen it with my son.
I'll save you the trouble.
Okay.
That's the one part I wanted you
We're
to
watching.
just-
We're watching this right after we
I
wrap,
wanted you to just hear that for the first time in screens.
and we're gonna start.
Fuck Batman.
Oh my god. What does DC want to sabotage themselves?
I don't know what it is about them. How are they so bad at making movies? Or
It's
anything?
like I was saying, if I wanted to make like a really cliche, over the top, edgy movie for fun, like to be funny, I don't think I could do that well.
Yeah.
Like, or a trailer. I mean, I couldn't.
It would
do
be
that
too
well.
obvious, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's the great thing about art that's so bad that it's good, is that like you said, I couldn't try and make it come off authentic. It would come out like Sharknado.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where
they are so
it's
good.
Immediately obvious. Yeah.
They are so good at making making joyless, lame.
Yeah, and at that point, it's like you've missed the point of so bad it's good.
Yeah.
You're just so bad that it's good, but it's gone past being good and back to bad again.
It's so inconceivably bad.
Well, on that note, let's talk about my movie.
All right.
My movie recommendation is a 1987 film directed by David A. Pryor. You may know him from the 2013 movie Dancin'. It's On, with a budget of $27,000.
What?
Actually, no. It made an Office $27,000.
You mean this guy had a 20+ year film career and had a budget of $27,000?
Yeah.
Wait, what is this?
You may know him from movies like Dancin'. It's On.
No, I don't.
Of course not.
Is that the sequel to Little Dancing Man?
I guess.
It might be.
Cheers.
To the Cheers.
This movie by David Pryor is 88 minutes long. It is called Deadly Prey.
It's only 88 minutes.
Deadly Prey.
It's called Deadly Prey.
Oh, I think I know this one.
Yeah, I'm sure I've shown you clips of it, but I think you would really appreciate it, Art.
Okay.
Things I wrote down about it. It has 5 significant characters. The main character being which, the director's brother. So
is the character his brother?
No.
Or is he the main actor?
The main actor is the director's brother.
Okay.
Like his real life brother.
Yeah.
The main director is the actor's brother?
No. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Okay.
Wait, actually, yes.
Yeah. So, let me give you an overview of the movie. Deadly Prey tells the story of a former soldier, played by Pryor's brother Ted, who is kidnapped... who was kidnapped for participation in a human safari.
Are you sure this isn't about Ted Danson?
It might be. Reviewer Ken Hankey describes it as all quite ridiculous, but might be a good for a laugh if you're in the mood for ineptitude on an unbelievable scale.
Ineptitude on an unbelievable scale.
I've seen this movie.
A kind of neo-surrealism.
My brother's seen this movie. I think Chris has seen like some of the highlights of the movie.
I've seen the ending scene.
Best scene ever in a movie. You can watch this movie on YouTube. I'll send y'all the link.
Okay. Is this the one with the guy with long hair?
Yes.
Oh.
So it tells the story of a.
I can't believe I'm gonna sit down and watch this.
A special ops.
Yeah, this is a guy who he's retired, and
I don't do that no more, Daniel.
And then some mercenaries kidnap him and hunt him as a training exercise. But he's better than that.
That sounds awesome.
The movie's tagline is he was the best in Vietnam and still is.
And still is.
Wait, when did this come out?
1988.
88.
Yeah.
So hot off
87.
off the heels of Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He was
some might say the spiritual successor.
Yes. He thought. This is what Gomer Pyle dreamed of the night before he went in the bathroom and killed himself.
Oh Jesus.
Some more information. They they made a movie in 2013. David directed another movie with his brother again called Deadliest Prey, which is a sequel to the movie involving the same characters.
So we're watching
We're watching the original Deadly Prey.
Okay. What do you know about Deadliest Prey?
Deadliest Prey, it sucked. I heard it was even worse than the first one.
But like not in a good way?
Not in a good way. Like the thing that I like personally about the original movie, and I won't go too far into it, but it's over the top in every way, and I think that's enjoyable to a certain degree.
What was the budget on this bad boy?
I could not find any information on it, but to talk to its budget, David Pryor and another director created a movie making company whenever they started production on this movie, and I'm assuming this is how low their budget was.
I hope they just filmed like in the woods behind their house.
Okay, so they
the woods look like California.
It was in California. I'm trying to remember where exactly it was, but the way they described it in their Wikipedia page in the movie, they filmed this movie and another movie called Manhunter back to back. So while they were finishing filming this movie, they were also starting with similar actors.
Yeah, so probably while they had the extras, while they had the stuntmen on retainer.
You think someone like switched some scenes on accident?
Maybe.
I guarantee you there's shared footage.
Yeah.
I would bet $1 million. Absolutely.
So also, this movie is hot off the heels of a Arnold Schwarzenegger movie called
Commando.
No, it's not Commando. It's
Predator?
another one. I'll have to find information on it, but it had a similar storyline, and it came out
thematically. It would be Predator.
Okay.
Because in Predator, the Predator is hunting a bunch of badass special ops guys in a secluded jungle.
Okay.
So yeah, 1000% Predator.
Let me look that up. I looked up some information about it today, and I don't think that's what it is.
Ooh. Gotcha.
Oh, never mind. I was lying. It's not Arnold. It's Sylvester Stallone. There's a 1982 film called First Blood.
Rambo.
That's Rambo.
Oh, never mind. Well, okay, so it has
these kids.
Well, I mean, I guess that's why it looks like the Rambo.
Oh my god!
It looks.
Oh my god!
Yeah, and that's not, and that would be Rambo 2 poster.
Yeah.
First Blood is different.
But yeah, so
Rambo 2 second.
Yeah, it was both. Okay, Man Killers and Deadly Prey were both shot back to back in and around the Riverside, California area.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and this movie was first released on VHS and was officially released on DVD in 2015.
It got a DVD release
and Blu-ray.
No.
Yeah, that's what it says on
Criterion
here.
Hey, it's not expensive to come out with Blu-ray now. I guarantee you, my dad saw this and he thought it was badass.
But yeah, this is the movie y'all are gonna have to suffer through.
Thanks.
And I think you'll enjoy it, Art. I think you'll enjoy it, Chris.
I'm sure I will in some regard.
All 88 minutes of it.
Thank God.
Yeah.
It's like an epic. It's like 220
minutes.
I
was a little scared.
I like a tight 88.
I was a little scared at first because when I was first considering this movie, I looked to see if it was on YouTube, and there's a cut of it on YouTube that's 2 hours long. It's like 2 hours and 20 minutes, and I'm like,
the theatrical release with the narration.
But I think this is just a way for that guy to like avoid a copyright strike or something like that. So what he did was he played the whole movie, and then he played the first half of the movie after the end of the movie.
Oh, okay.
So just you'll know when the ending is because the credits scroll. But as soon as the credits are
right
done,
back to the start.
As soon as the credits are done, the opening credits start up again.
Fuck that! I'm buying this movie.
Blu-ray.
I support the creators.
It's a good movie. The production company doesn't exist anymore, so I don't know who that money would be going to. You'd probably be supporting whoever's selling it to you.
No shit.
Who distributed that?
I'm gonna have to look up that information.
Action International Pictures, which is that production company that they created, and also Sony Pictures Home Entertainment.
What?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Music is by Tim Heinz, Tim James, and Stephen McClintock.
Bill Bonobo.
But
Bill Bono.
But Action International Pictures was started by David Pryor, Peter Uval, and David Winters. So,
I mean, if it's a Winters film, you know that's quality.
I thought I heard the name U of A Bull in there somewhere.
Wait, did you say U of A Bull?
I thought I heard that.
Peter Uval.
Oh, thank God.
No, but
Daniel would recommend a U of A Bull.
I know, I was just Postal.
No, I think I'll enjoy it. It's a fun movie.
I'm gonna watch it with my wife. We
Awesome.
should get a kick out of it.
Man, let's have a little thing out of it.
All right. Okay.
All right. Well, nice seeing you, gentlemen. Again.
Wrapping up.
All right.
Yeah. Unless y'all got something else to.
I wrote something down where we can just go over it really quickly.
Sure.
It's the
Spill the beans, Chris.
It's the 10-year anniversary of The Dark Knight. I don't want to talk about that, actually. I want to talk about this. Have you guys seen
Overrated.
Have you guys seen Who's America?
Oh my God. Some of that stuff is amazing.
Have you seen any of it?
What?
Sacha Baron Cohen's new thing?
I've only heard of it.
Ooh, man.
I got a Showtime trial if you want to check it out.
Hell yeah, dude. I want to see the whole thing. 'Cause I've only seen like the YouTube
I
clips.
watched all three of them back to
I
back.
don't know if I could handle it.
Dude.
They're short. They're like 25 minutes.
The Alabama
Congressman?
No, the congressman.
I heard audio from that.
Man.
When he's posing as an Israeli guy and he's talking about the guns and marketing guns to little kids.
No, that was another guy. I'm talking. There's this one guy that runs with his butt out.
Oh, that's Georgia, but yeah.
Georgia, rather. Yeah, Georgia.
He had
that Roy Moore one was pretty good.
He had
too.
Roy Moore on there,
yeah.
And he went for the kill immediately.
Oh yeah, that setup was incredible.
Man, I can't believe some of the stuff he does.
And it's crazy because like
I feel like Borat's pretty popular and all of his stuff is popular, but I feel like it's still underappreciated what he does.
Yeah,
like
I
the
agree.
lengths he goes to are insane.
Yeah,
and how subversive it is.
And how he gets these meetings with like real celebrities,
and how he gets people to sign off.
Yeah, well, and that's
and he gets them to sign release forms.
Do you know what the key is to that? Pay them and have them sign before.
Well, supposedly the way he got everyone in was like he was gonna give them an award, and then they interview
him. But like. As soon as that first thing came out, as soon as that first video came out, dude, fucking Sarah Palin came out talking about him on CNN. I was tricked.
It's the dumbest thing. You can't complain about getting tricked.
Yeah.
You're still saying those things on camera.
Yeah.
Like, you can't complain about getting tricked. If you're
What's
dumb
the cliff notes of what she said?
I don't think it's
hers hasn't come out yet.
It hasn't been on yet. But everybody that's been caught saying something stupid is like, he duped me. Well, it's like, that's your fault.
Yeah. If you come up to me and you're like, hey, what about this racist shit? And I go, yeah.
It's that.
You are a problem.
And you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I don't care if you think you can say it in a safe place.
Yeah.
But the people who say it, they deserve ridicule even more because it's not like they thought they were in a safe place. They were being recorded.
It's like, you're a public figure. You shouldn't say that anyway. Well, you shouldn't say that, period.
You shouldn't think that. You shouldn't feel that.
Yes, that's what I mean.
And you're being recorded. No sympathy.
Yeah.
No that's stupid.
Eat a bag of dicks.
That Bernie Sanders one was pretty funny.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, we should take the entire 99% and stick them in the 1%. Bring them up. It's like, no, that wouldn't work.
That doesn't work.
That doesn't work.
But yeah, all of his characters are really good. Especially like his NPR character.
Have you noticed that Ran Morad guy? Every time he introduces himself, he's a higher rank.
I know. I noticed that last night. I was watching it last night, and I even kind of squealed to myself. I was like, he's a major now.
Yeah. Because like the first time he introduces himself, he's a captain. Then he's a general.
Yeah, it's like what? It's like, what is he doing that's so important that's getting him these promotions?
He's eating grass and smoking ass.
Man, like that stuff is amazing. Like from what I've seen of it, like.
And that's what blows me away is how he can keep his composure.
Dude, I will say, like, he almost cracks in that one with the Georgia.
Yes, he does. I was going to bring that up.
He's just, like, smiling.
When he's like, you must say the N-word, and he says it, and he's just like...
like, no, the word is noonie.
He's like, that word is disgusting.
That word is disgusting.
The Georgia state representative just screaming it.
Oh, my God.
Okay, yeah, we'll have to check it out.
Okay.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
I'm very glad it's happening right now. It's phenomenal.
Well, and that's the thing, right? So like that, like the stuff that he's doing right now reminds me of something that happened, I think, like a month or two ago. Some comedian just talked his way into getting into a phone call with Donald Trump. Like, really? Did you hear about that? Like, it was like either some radio show host or like a comedian who pretended to be.
I would use that for good.
He pretended to be somebody important, and they phoned him into Donald Trump. Like, he called the administration and was just like, hey, I'm so-and-so. Okay. And then they phoned him into Donald Trump on Air Force One.
You'd think with how, like, strict he is about certain media members that wouldn't happen.
Yeah. I mean...
I guess, man.
The thing I'm wondering, though, is he is dropping some bombs on these episodes. I cannot imagine what he's got like left still to release.
Supposedly
his season finale,
crazier and crazier.
Yeah, the finale would probably be nuts.
And that's the thing. Like, I could see him releasing the Roy Moore thing at the end, and I would have been like, "That's insane."
Yeah,
but yeah,
or
that's
any
not even
of them.
it.
It's like the second episode.
Yeah. Fuck, that's crazy.
All right.
Well,
wrap it up.
We'll see you.
Scrap it up.
We'll see you in 2 weeks. And we're going to talk about some deadly prey.